Hello, everybody, and welcome along to the Bundesliga show brought to you by Over the Bar. We are checking in this evening for some Europa League semi-final action. Obviously, we are from the Bundesliga point of view going to be supporting and watching Bayer Leverkusen versus AS Roma in the Europa League semi-final second leg. The match is quite nicely poised at, 1-0 to AS Roma after the first leg. So it's obviously going to be a very tense affair. Before we get into all of that, first and foremost, good evening, Mark. How are we doing this evening?
Yeah, not bad at all. Yeah, just looking forward to the game, really. Yeah, obviously, it's the last chance for the Bundesliga glory, isn't it, this year in Europe? Obviously, important for the coefficients as well, because I would say in general, it's not been the best year for German teams, really. Let's be honest. Like, obviously, last year, Frankfurt famously went all the way. I don't think German teams really did themselves that much justice in the Champions League, despite a lot of teams got to the last 16, but obviously, three teams crashed in the 16s, and then obviously Bayern Munich disappointingly against Man City as well. So yeah, it's all down to the Europa League, really, isn't it? And I watched the first leg last week, and I felt as though Leverkusen did well. They had a lot of chances early on in the game. Florian Wirtz was a menace to the Roma back line, but it just seems to be the Italian team's year this year, doesn't it? Really, like they managed to find a way to get through, and I thought probably it was an even game, really, in truth. But obviously, Roma under Jose Mourinho were able to just nick the win at home, and they're in a good position to advance now.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many connotations to this between the managers, obviously the setup of the match, as you mentioned already quite correctly, the coefficients. There'll be, plenty of support from the Bundesliga sides who are watching Leverkusen tonight, I'm sure. We've just got the Europa League theme tune going on my screen now, as obviously the players are getting themselves ready. So as we've got about 2 minutes or so before we kick off, and there's a nice warm embrace between Jose Mourinho and Xabi Alonso, who of course got a very nice relationship. Let's do some score predictions for tonight. So obviously, if you're watching with us right now, pop them in the live chat. It'll be really interesting to see that. I'll kick us off. I'm going to go for a 3-1 home win to see Leverkusen advance before extra time. But there's definitely the threat of that this evening, potentially. Mark, what are you thinking?
Yeah, it is a hard one to predict this because, as I say, the first leg was an interesting match, I found, tactically, and I did believe that Leverkusen probably should have got a draw from the away leg, in truth. But I'm going to go for a 2-1 win, but obviously because we don't have away goals anymore, that means it's going to extra time. So I'm going to go for a penalties, actually, tonight. I think it's got the kind of feel that it could go the distance, this one, I think. And I'm going to go for Leverkusen on penalties. I've got it, really. But I do think it'll be a tight one. It's a kind of game that there's nothing that really kind of stands out to me as to who'll progress here. I think it's not quite 50-50 because Roma have got to be slight favourites going into this one, haven't they? Because they have got the lead and they've got a lot of experience in that team as well. But I've just got a feeling that Leverkusen will be able to do it. I think there's a little bit more individual quality in this side for me for Leverkusen.
Yeah, and obviously we can now maybe have a quick look at the lineups. Obviously, myself and Mark will be, very familiar with what we've been presented from a Leverkusen point of view, so we can obviously, reflect on that as the game kind of goes on in its early stages. Obviously we kind of got a bit of a presence up top for Leverkusen in the shape of Serdar Azmoun, who is not really filled his potential yet. So big game for him. But before we get into that, obviously lots of familiar faces on that AS Roma starting 11, Mark.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's a quality squad, isn't it? It's an interesting squad they've kind of put together, really. Obviously, with Tammy Abraham, not many English players go to Italy, and from what I've heard, he's done pretty well over there. He's a bit of a fan's favourite with the Roma fans. I think he was always quite good in England as well for Chelsea, so he's going to be a danger man. I always quite rated him. He's in and around the England squad as well, so yeah, quality player there. I think obviously Lorenzo Pellegrini as well. He started the season at Frankfurt as well, and he kind of flopped there. So I think that's obviously worth bearing in mind. He's returning to Germany. He's got something to prove. Matic, former Man United man, he's a player that I used to rate really, really highly. I thought when he was at Chelsea under Mourinho, he was an absolute beast, wasn't he? But he didn't seem to fit in as well at United. But obviously he's a player that's won a lot in his career, and he has been, whether he still is, we'll see tonight. But I mean, he has been a very, very good player in his career. Rui Patricio, another former Premier League name as well. Always a good goalkeeper for Wolves, and they would have been disappointed to lose him a couple of years ago. And then, Eduardo Bove, who was the goal scorer last week, a youngster. I think Gianluca Mancini is highly rated as well, the fullback for Roma. So it's a squad packed with quality. Obviously, Belotti as well, who was part of that Italian Euro 2021 winning team too. And also Spinazzola, who was, I think he made the team of the tournament as well, actually. So they do have a quality side. There's a lot of good players, but so do Leverkusen at the end of the day.
Yeah, and we're about a minute and 20-odd seconds into the match. We've already had our first shot. It is for the away side. Tammy Abraham linking up play quite nicely from a long ball. And it fell to the captain, who spurned what was quite a decent chance, actually, wide of the mark. And Leverkusen have responded here with getting Frimpong on the ball nice and early, which is good. Down the right-hand side, it's been switched to Bakker on the left, and they've now kind of retreated a little bit back into shape. And obviously now Roma are just getting behind the ball, and naturally both teams, just as Leverkusen try to advance, but it doesn't come to anything, and I think that's a foul and going to be a free kick for AS Roma. Obviously both sides are going to take a bit of time to feel themselves, figure out each other, Mark, and then, kind of go from there. Do we expect Leverkusen to, go for it early doors, or do they take the game? Do they take the game deep? Obviously it's going to be a tricky one against, the well-renowned and experienced head coach of Jose Mourinho, and, Xabi Alonso's men will indeed have their work cut out, certainly from a tactical point of view, won't they?
Yeah, it's a big test for Xabi Alonso tactically, because let's be honest, he's coming up against a master really in Mourinho, isn't he? I mean, obviously he's not at his peak of his powers. He has been one of the best managers in football, but he has kind of, I would say he's had a bit of a resurgence really at Roma. Like, he won the Conference League last year, which made obviously he completed all three of the major European tournaments by winning that. And he'll fancy his chances of winning a Europa League. I think it'd be his second Europa League after winning it with Man United as well, ironically, a few years ago. But yeah, he is a fan's favourite with Roma. I've heard that he's been linked with PSG as well. So, he'll quite fancy that. I think obviously getting back into one of the real top clubs in Europe. Not to say that Roma isn't a big club, but obviously PSG, one of the elite clubs nowadays. But yeah, I mean, for Xabi Alonso, it's a big test. If he can come through this, it's going to massively, enhance his reputation. I quite like the squad that he's gone with. I'm a little bit shocked that he's gone with Azmoun, to be honest with you, but I guess that's largely to do with his good form in Europe. Like, he is a player that has a good record in Europe. But a little bit surprised he's gone with him in the game. But other than that, it's probably as you'd expect. Obviously, Demirbay has kind of fought his way back into the team since Andrich got injured a couple of weeks ago. He's going to be a big loss because Andrich has been one of their better players this season. But Demirbay is a quality replacement, although a slightly different player as well. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, Leverkusen have made a relatively good start. I think I'm a minute or so behind you, Rory, as usual when I use RTL, unfortunately, over here in Germany. But yeah, I think Leverkusen have been dominating possession after that early chance. But, Roma, I think they'll be happy to soak up the possession. They're a typical Italian side, especially under Mourinho. I mean, Mourinho had a lot of his success in Italy as well. It really suits his style of play, the Italian football. The Italian players like to play under Mourinho as well. So I think, it's going to be a real challenge for Leverkusen, but I do believe they can, get the goals that they need to win this game.
Yeah, they're on the front foot. So 5 minutes pretty much bang on with me. So yeah, Mark is probably a little bit further behind. So naturally, I'll kind of just react to things as and when. As Demirbay gets a deflected cross into the box, and that comes to nothing. But yeah, good start for Leverkusen on the ball, plenty as Bakker sends in a horrendous cross, and that comes to absolutely nothing. So yeah, again, if you want to throw in some early predictions, well, obviously we've got one in from Paul, OTB's Paul, so he's going for a Bundesliga victory as well. We'll maybe talk a little bit about who both sides may well face, as obviously the second leg of the other semi-final is also going on as we speak between Sevilla, the conquerors of Man United, and Juventus. So could obviously present ourselves with interesting talking for potential finalists, just as Roma tried to go long and Leverkusen soaked that up quite nicely and again get Frimpong on the ball. And, having mentioned those two names already quite early, Mark, obviously the wing backs of Leverkusen are going to be really important. Mitchell, Bakker and Frimpong in terms of quality delivery into the box and making the most of opportunities if and when they get in behind the Roma defence, which is naturally going to be a lot deeper just as the ball comes through to Asmoon. He's on the edge of the box. Good feet. Just stay with this for a second. He has retreated, but Leverkusen still got the ball in advanced position here. But unfortunately, it is well defended by Roma and they get it clear. So, yeah, already showing the importance of obviously the wing backs, which, is a very kind of modern position that we see in the game.
Yeah, definitely. I think for Leverkusen, Leverkusen are basically all about wide play and pace, aren't they? I mean, obviously we watch them regularly. They're a team that love to play on the counter as well, actually, which is something that might potentially not suit them. Although in recent weeks they have won a few games at home. Traditionally, I would say they've mostly been better away from home in the last few years, especially when they had Gerardo Sioane. But yeah, definitely they love to play down the wings. Frimpong has probably been their player of the season this year. He's been absolutely electric. I expect him. From what I've heard, he's looking for a big move to one of Europe's elite clubs, potentially even Barcelona have been linked with him. He is pretty much world class already, I would say, and he can still get better. But yeah, I mean, most of the play does go wide with Leverkusen. Yeah, obviously Diaby as well is absolutely vital to everything they do. Like he's like a speedster basically with a lot of quality and a lot of pace as well. But yeah, it's that's my only fear for Leverkusen today. I think that Roma's tactic will be to let Leverkusen have the ball, and they'll feel as though the worry for Roma is if they get caught on the break, basically, because that's when Leverkusen are at their absolute most dangerous for me.
Yeah.
I also think it's going to be a big game for Palacios today, the World Cup winner as well, the Argentinian World Cup winner. Obviously, a quality player who's, to be honest, didn't really do very well until the World Cup win, and then he started to come good, really, for me. So, yeah, he's going to be key in terms of dominating possession and creating chances as well. So, yeah, I think so far Leverkusen have been the better side. They'll be the happier team. But Roma, as expected, as typical for Italian teams, getting stuck in there early on. And, they are the masters of game management, aren't they?
Yeah, you expect that from any team that are coached by Jose Mourinho. And we've had 8 minutes so far of this match, and it's been very clear that Leverkusen are trying to progress the ball very quickly, especially down the right hand side. To where Diaby and Frimpong are. And again, as you said, Mark, AS Roma are completely comfortable in the home side having the ball, just as Leverkusen advanced down the left-hand side in with Florian Wirtz, progressing now towards goal. Good feet, and Diaby gets a shot on goal, but it is off target. So I think that's maybe 3 shots for Leverkusen now. 1 on target by Demirbay, which was very tame. So obviously we've already mentioned the fullbacks, but Florian Wirtz in there, as you mentioned, Mark, with Palacios, with Demirbay kind of being that holding midfield player to kind of grab a hold of the game and start attacks for the home side. that again is probably going to be a real key area of the match, where if Leverkusen can get, Mr. Fantastic, Florian Wirtz on the ball, then they're going to stand a great chance as we hit 10 minutes into this match.
Yeah, I mean, Florian Wirtz is the ultimate world beater, really, and he's probably one of the best players in the Bundesliga, if not, maybe it's a bit early to say he's the best, but he's definitely in the top 5 players in the Bundesliga. I mean, the guy is he's a magician, really, isn't he? And a lot of their quality is also through him, as well as the wide areas, really. So, I mean, this is a Leverkusen side that's absolutely stacked with quality. Ultimately, it's a very, very good squad. I would say this squad is stronger than the Frankfurt squad that won the Europa League last year, definitely for me. And I think this is a real quality squad. They'll be very happy with the way they started the game, just playing it around the back as well, through the resurgent Jonathan Tah as well, who's had criticism this season, but he's really come good the last 2 months or so, as Leverkusen have put a good run together in Europe and the Bundesliga. Obviously, they didn't ultimately get in the Champions League, but they should finish 6th or 7th, which, considering they spent a lot of the season in the bottom half of the table, will be considered a good recovery. But yeah, they're playing very good football. Roma are doing all the running. But as I say, the problem is this would have been what Roma planned for, I think, at the end of the day. I think Roma and Mourinho will be very, very happy to let Leverkusen have the bulk of the possession. And, they'll hope that they can maybe get a goal off a corner or a set play. I would imagine that's how they'll go. There's not really that many top technical players in this Roma side, to be honest. I mean, even the likes of Belotti and Abraham, they're not known to be real speedsters or technical players.
Oh, God.
Oh, goal? Or...
No, not quite. I wasn't saying anything because it didn't even look like a great chance, but Diaby went through behind the Roma defence, exactly what Leverkusen would be planning for. So they win the ball back in their own half, but release Diaby really early. And he's onside. He's in behind goal. Still has a lot of work to do, as he's quite wide and at an angle, and he pings a great shot and it's hit the bar. The keeper rooted to the spots, not getting anywhere near it. So almost the perfect start for Leverkusen. Diaby showing how dangerous he can be. And that will only be encouragement, Mark. If you're seeing it on your screen now-ish, what do you reckon? Like Diaby maybe carving a half chance into a really good opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, the ball through was good as well, but yeah, he's literally going alone against 3 Roma defenders, so he does really well, and it really clatters the bar. The keeper was beaten by the look of it, actually, and he was quite relieved to see it crash off the bar. He looked pretty worried, the keeper, Rui Patricio. But yeah, I mean, Diaby is an absolute quality player. He's one of my favourite players to watch in the Bundesliga as well, along with Wirtz. And I just think he's going to be key tonight if Leverkusen are going to win it. It's been a very, very good start, by the way, from the home side. I mean, Roma have barely been out of their own half so far. And Belotti and Abraham look pretty lost so far. But this is exactly what Xabi Alonso would have wanted. The team are playing well. Jose Mourinho looks pretty calm, just as the kind of focus goes on to him. Roma are already looking like they're trying to slow down the play. I don't know if you've noticed that, but they're taking the time overthrowing it. I guess this is the classic Italian stereotype style, really, and it just as Tammy Abraham just launches a completely aimless ball. I mean, I would say they've started the game quite poorly, actually, Roma, in truth. I don't think Mourinho will be that happy. They've been giving away possession every time they've had it. On the rare occasion they have had it, but for Leverkusen, Rory, they couldn't be happier unless they had the goal, I guess, really.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Is that key, obviously, element of that early goal to put the pressure, obviously firmly on the away side. Naturally, because we're watching and doing commentary, we can't hear the commentary or indeed the atmosphere. But the tifos, as per usual, before the game were really impressive in the Bay Arena. So the fans, no doubt, will be well up for it. There was lots of kind of atmosphere in and around the ground before the game, saw lots of stuff on social media, so I have no doubt that this is going to be a real kind of supportive atmosphere for the home side. So if they can get that early goal, then you can almost use the crowd to suck in the next goal, sort of kind of metaphor there, just as Leverkusen, again, on the ball, comfortably inside the Roma half, now progressing it to Mitchell Bakker down the left-hand side. And one thing that I have enjoyed so far from Leverkusen, Mark, is just as the ball goes loose and, here come Roma. But anyway, my point was going to be is what I've enjoyed so far is the fact that Leverkusen are just moving the ball nice and quickly, one touch pass, first time pass, in order to get out to the wide men and actually utilise that space just as Roma win a free kick.
Yeah, I think they've been superb so far, really. The football, the passing quota is very high as well. They're not giving the ball away. As you say, it's fast, but it's somewhat patient as well. They don't want to give Roma too much play because, they also have quality players that can hurt Leverkusen as well. So far, so good. I mean, it's just that goal that's missing, as you say. I don't think they need to rush the goal tonight, though, to be honest. For me, they don't need to rush to get an early goal or anything. At the end of the day, especially with no away goals, I think that really helps Leverkusen tonight because in the past, a 1-0 defeat away from home, if you conceded a goal, that was basically tie over, if you were playing a defensive team especially.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think, Leverkusen have got time. Even if they go 1-0 down, they're still in the tie, and I think, in recent weeks, they've beaten the likes of Leipzig and Bayern Munich at home, so that they'll be confident, One thing I have noticed is that I've not enjoyed so far in this game is the amount of time wasting going on by Roma already. I mean, they've just won a free kick and it's taken already over a minute before the free kick's been taken, and it's still not been taken yet. It probably has been on your screen, Rory, but yeah, a little bit disappointed about how much time Roma are going to waste. But I guess that's part of the magic of Mourinho, and he knows he likes the gamesmanship. He's a bit of a master of it. Let's be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. Wouldn't imagine him getting too involved with Xabi Alonso from a kind of a manager to manager perspective. I know he's got some more kind of robust relationships with other head coaches and things like that. Obviously, his rivalry, say, with Pep Guardiola was always entertaining to watch. But I suspect he and Xabi Alonso will be a bit more on an even keel with each other at the very least. But yeah, he looks like he's kind of just the orchestrator for his choir, basically, and he is doing what he would expect so far, because we've had almost 18 minutes so far this evening, obviously on our watch-along, our latest watch-along. So thank you to everyone who's tuned in so far with us. Do make sure that you smash a like on the video, join in the chat. Obviously, we've not had too much in so far, but let us know if you're enjoying the game, who you're supporting. Just as Leverkusen send in a free kick, a long free kick goes all the way through to Rui Patricio, and it's as you were. So almost 20 minutes in, just settling in nicely to the match. So make sure you get yourself a drink, get yourself a beer, relax, kick back, and enjoy the semi-final second leg with us, which hopefully we'll see a Bundesliga side return to the Europa League final like we had last year. So yeah, very much looking forward to the rest of this game. So make sure you do enjoy it with us, just as Roma managed to win themselves a free kick inside the Leverkusen half, being seen to it by Nemanja Matic. And again, Rome, no great urgency over the ball. And again, they're relying on that longer ball to Tammy Abraham, Mark, feeding off the bits and bobs that might come, as a result of Abraham's knockdowns, headers, chests, whatever it might be. Tried to do it there, but Abraham was actually offside. And again, there's a bit of time taken out of the match. But, that's certainly one tactic that's clear and obvious so far from the away side.
Yeah, I don't expect we'll see that much football from the away side, to be honest, today, from what I've seen so far. I think the tactic is very much to contain Leverkusen, and the time wasting is very obvious to me so far. Like, I know that, in my opinion, like to an extent, time wasting is a kind of tactic, I guess, if you can get away with it. But to start so early, I mean, it's, and we are seeing a lot of those kind of Italian, and I don't want to be too critical because I actually respect Italian football a lot. I mean, they've had a great season, but we do see those antics a lot in the in the country, especially compared to Germany, because I like to think that German football is like a very honest brand of the game.
Yeah.
We don't tend to see that much time wasted in the Bundesliga, really, do we? Maybe into the last 2-3 minutes, but like even stuff like taking the ball into the corner flag isn't respected in Germany, which we see in most leagues. Whereas in Germany, it's considered to be like an absolute no-no to take the ball into the corner flag, even at the end of the game. So, yeah, just caught offside there. Tammy Abraham way offside as well. But, Roma, apart from that shot they had in the first 30 seconds, they've done absolutely nothing at all as an attacking force. But, they've clearly come with a game plan. They know how to kind of run that clock down. And Leverkusen will be worried about that because, the longer it goes at 0-0, the more these kind of games will creep into the match. And, as I say, Jose Mourinho's always had this in his locker, and especially in his side. He probably knows that, that this isn't the best team he's ever managed on paper, and he knows that, like, maybe with this kind of team, you do have to play a few more games, so to speak. But still very early days, just about 20 minutes on the clock, just as Leverkusen attack here. As you mentioned, some really good football from Leverkusen as well. Like, they're playing it through well, although Demirbay just loses it pretty carelessly there, although it's been won back again. And it's out wide to Diaby, who, a header in there, and it's so Azmoun. Some good deep defending from Roma as well, but good recycling. And it's just a shot comes in the end from Palacios, I think it was. Oh, no, it was Demirbay, who does have a good shot on him. And it's easy save from Patricio, but it goes behind for a corner. I'll let you take us through the corner, Rory.
Well, the corner has already happened, actually, on my screen. So we're now kind of back with play, Leverkusen again on the ball as you'd expect so far, and now back on the halfway line. So that corner did get defended, just as we're now back down the right hand side with Florian Wirtz crossing in. Good leap by Diaby there, but a fairly harmless header in the end. Obviously, we've mentioned about how Leverkusen might be able to break down this resolute AS Roma backline, Mark. I think maybe, if we look at the selection of Serdar Azmoun as someone that, has not quite come good in a Leverkusen shirt to the extent that he was maybe hoping to, and maybe what a fresh, fit and firing Paddy Schick might offer as an alternative solution, because what a stellar season he had last season. It's been so frustrating for him this season.
Yeah, definitely. It is a pity. He's the one that's missing, isn't he, from that Leverkusen side? I mean, he was one of the stars. I think he made pretty much everyone's team of the season last year, didn't he? I mean, he was in the official team of the season as well, Schick. This year, his season's just been a complete non-starter, basically. Like, he started off the season on poor form, then he got a few injuries, and he's already, I think he curtailed his season about a month ago or so, saying that he wasn't going to play again this season, which is a pity. Just as a header from Diaby comes in there, which is well wide. But, Leverkusen are getting the chances. Yeah, I would say Azmoun, he doesn't look that confident out there, to be honest. I think he did actually come out this week and say that he was considering leaving the club as well, which is so, we don't know if those rumours are correct, but I mean, it is somewhat surprising to see that he got the nod tonight, because there are other options as well, the likes of Amina Adli as well, who's had a good season as well. A little bit surprised to see him not given the nod tonight, but obviously I think Xabi Alonso does have respect for Azmoun. He's been a good player, he's got a lot of good goals in the Champions League with Zenit in the past as well. But it's just not, I don't think the German football really suits his style, to be honest. He's not really a fast player. And I think, the German football is all about speed and like fast breaks and things. I'm not sure that's his style really at times. And I wouldn't be surprised to see him leave in the summer, in truth. But this is his big moment, really. This is probably the biggest game he's started in for Leverkusen in, I think, well over a year. I think he joined in January 2022, didn't he?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Yeah, I think this is obviously his biggest game in a Leverkusen shirt, but he's not really started it particularly well, I wouldn't say.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, already you can kind of see a few frustrated faces on the Leverkusen side, and even in the stands to a certain degree, picking up the ball maybe 30 yards out and deciding to have a ping, because the further the Leverkusen get up the pitch, Roma can just keep on retreating, making it so tight, and restricting Bakker and Frimpong and Diaby and Wirtz the space to actually operate. And so there was basically no choice for the midfielder to have a pop in it, when miles over the bar. And obviously it's still so early doors, 25 minutes into this match. It's one goal in it, but I mean, Roma are playing as much as Leverkusen has started this game really well. They've got all the ball, they've had all the chances. Obviously, the RB effort, but Roma will be entirely comfortable with that, and they will also see this as not a perfect 25 minutes, but a very comfortable 25 minutes as well.
Yeah, they're definitely having to do, as you say, Leverkusen are having a lot of shots, but Roma is clearly a side. I mean, having watched them for this 25 minutes, they're a side that aren't afraid of the, let's just say they aren't afraid of the dark arts, I wouldn't say. The teams can win tournaments by playing the dark side of football, really. We've seen it many times before in the past. I remember Portugal in the Euros in 2016. Like, they barely attacked in any game in that tournament, and they came out and won it. And I think obviously we saw Greece famously as well. I just think it's, Jose Mourinho's also won tournaments playing that style of football as well. So they know that at the end of the day, they're in front. They don't need a goal tonight. And I think Leverkusen realised that Roma are just going to sit ridiculously deep right from the first minute. And that's maybe why we see a few frustrated faces, because, you never know quite what to expect before a game. You don't know what tactics teams are going to come out with, but I think Leverkusen would have been hoping that Roma weren't going to do this right from the start, and that they might have at least the first half to try and get a goal and level a tie. But I think the writing is on the wall. It's very clear what Roma are going to do for the whole 90 minutes or 180 if it needs that. And that's probably why we are starting to see a few frustrated faces. But Leverkusen have been good so far. They're still playing it around the back really well. There's a lot of confidence in that Leverkusen defence, which is good to see, because it's not always been like that this season. I really like the way that they're playing it around with Tapsoba. Jonathan Tah is bringing the ball well out of the back. Hincapié has had a really good season, especially since the World Cup as well. But it's going to be getting that goal, and that's going to be where the problem lies tonight, because, as you say, Roma are not going to give it up easily.
Yeah, the first goal is so important to this, isn't it? Because if Leverkusen get I don't anticipate the floodgates opening, but you kind of feel like the second goal might be easier to come by in a sense. Just as, again, Frimpong down the right-hand side here, linking up with his pal Diaby. Good ball in, actually. Oh, Azmoun gets to it before Patricio. And I think we were hoping for a corner there, but despite Azmoun's protests, it is now going to be a goal kick to Roma. So, the home side at least not being afraid to mix it up and get those crosses in, because Azmoun is a good operator in the air. Can't really tell who that came off last, to be honest. Hard to say if it's a clear-cut corner or goal kick. But we are, again, back with AS Roma on the ball, which is a rarity. 29 minutes in this evening. So thank you again to everyone that's tuned in so far. I can see that Ballam's checked in for this evening. So evening to you, Ballam. I hope everyone is, enjoying the coverage that we've provided so far, and indeed what the game has provided. Hopefully that first Leverkusen goal is not too far away, and we'll be able to celebrate that as a Bundesliga show. Not anything against AS Roma, but of course we have to be supporting the German side this evening. So do make sure that you smash a like on the video. comment along, to join in the chat. If you've got any questions at all, just as a Tammy Abraham cross is deflected to Radetsky there, fire them at me and Mark. Doesn't necessarily have to be about this game, but if it is, even better. And join in the conversation and the chat, and subscribe to the channel. Just as, again, Leverkusen going longer there for, a rare instance of them trying to go long and it didn't work. So I don't think Xabi Alonso was overly pleased with that. But, the Leverkusen head coach has had a lot of praise in what he's done so far with his, with his team, his tactics, and making Leverkusen a resurgent side again, Mark. But, I mean, it's clear to say that this is the biggest test of his managerial career, going against, a legend in Jose Mourinho across two legs in a semi-final of a major European competition.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, at this level of football, it does come down to like tactical battles, managerial battles, and things like that. This is like the pinnacle of football at the end of the day, and that's what Jose Mourinho's a master of. He's never been a manager that's been bothered about playing like the best football ever known. I'm sure Man United fans will attest to that. But it's but at the end of the day, he's won a lot. Like, I think after Guardiola, he's won the most of like any active manager now. I think so. Like, he's won a lot of league titles in a lot of different countries. Nobody can question his overall record. Like, he's won the Champions League with two unfancied sides in Porto and Inter Milan. Yep. I mean, he is a very, very good manager, but as I said before, like, he isn't afraid to get involved with the dark arts. Let's say that much, and like he knows how to win games of football. And at the end of the day, defense is an art as well, and that's what he sees it as. Just as Roma finally did get forward, but again, it's Tammy Abraham giving the ball away quite poorly there. He's not been great actually so far, but just as they get it back again. But it's really good defending from Jonathan Tah. Like, he's been really impressive today so far.
Yeah, and just Leverkusen managed to get the ball down the other end, and again, they've earned themselves a corner kick. So when it comes back in play, I'll talk us through this one. So naturally, Demirbay is going to be aiming for Tapsoba or Jonathan Tah. Let's see if he can find one of those. Obviously, or Hincapié, perfectly capable in the air, as is Azmoun. So the referee just sorting out a little bit of handbags, as the Roma defenders very eager to grab shirts and mark very tightly. It's going to be an in-swinger from Demirbay, middle of the goal, very well defended, very confidently defended, and the ball is now. It's going to be an injury here. Oh no, he's decided he's okay. So yeah, as you say, Mark, more dark arts. Not entirely sure who it is for Roma, but it looks like they're actually preparing the substitution, to be fair. So maybe the player is going off injured here potentially. But yeah, another bit of a stoppage. 33 minutes in to this match, and fortunately, since the Diaby chance, so it's Spinazzola actually has come off. So that's a bit of a blow for Roma. Indeed there. So he has had to be pulled out of action, and his replacement is Zaleski. So the number 50 something has come on. Looks like a younger player, and will have to do a very, a big job against Diaby down that side of the pitch by the looks of it. So that could be an opportunity, especially for Frimpong as well. Again, Leverkusen back in possession now of the ball, and again will be looking to find those gaps in the AS Roma defence, which they have really only found on the one occasion. And Mark, it might even be a case of like inviting Rome onto Leverkusen so they can just create a bit more space in behind, because it's just there's not gonna be any space otherwise if they keep on approaching it this same way. And so maybe a couple of those first time passes in behind are going to be what they need to do.
Yeah, I think they're going to struggle to get in behind the whole day, as you say, unless it can almost force Roma to have the ball. Basically, I mean that's. But even then, even when Roma do get the ball, they're not committing many men forward, so they've always got men back. So, I mean, to be honest, the tactic was very, very obvious, really, for Jose Mourinho, because we everybody knows that Leverkusen are a team that are mostly good on the counter. That's where we see them get a lot of the goals. I think they're the top goal scorers on the counter in the Bundesliga this season, and they've always been a side very famous for pace and counter-attacking football. Just as said, Asmoon is down on the floor as well. It's not ideal, it's for Leverkusen, really. A lot of like scrappy play going on the last 5 minutes or so. I think Spinazzola is going to be a big loss. So he is a good player. He's an experienced player. He's just the kind of player that's going to love playing in a Jose Mourinho system. And the young Polish guy who just came on, I don't profess to know much about him, but I'm sure he is experienced. I'm sure he's well drilled in this Roma side. But I mean, he's not Spinazzola, so I mean that is a big loss at the end of the day for them. The experienced Italian fullback.
Another half chance for the home side. They work the ball quite nicely into the center of the pitch again. This time falls to Asmoon. Enough space to get a half decent shot off. On target again, but experienced keeper like Rui Patricio will eat that up all day long. Very safe hands. So again, it remains 0-0. Still searching for our first goal this evening on our semi-final second leg watch-along, which obviously has, presents us with a chance of getting another German side into a Europa League final. But they will have to unlock the key. Serdar Azmoun seems to get in behind there, run past his man, and gets hauled to the floor. And the referee's like, nah, play on. Interesting stuff, that. I mean, looks like a clear foul to me. Obviously, Mark, when it comes to you have to let us know, just as Roma now kind of half counter-attacking. Maybe it was softer than I thought, but it looked pretty clear cut that Azmoun just gets pulled back there.
Yeah, I think it's just going to come on to mine now. Yeah, it's I'm about as I say, 40 seconds behind. Yeah, it did look as though there was a hand out there. Yeah, from can't quite see who it is from. I think it was Ibanez, who the Spanish defender who did it. But I've not had a replay yet. Have you seen a replay of that one yet, Rory?
No, not yet, because obviously there's quite a long spell of play after that until Palacios got fouled in the middle of the pitch, and he was seen. Oh, we might be seeing it here actually. So yeah, long ball forward. The bounce, I think, does the defender. He definitely holds him back. I mean, yeah, that's a foul. Simple as. But anyway, the game goes on. Deep cross there by Leverkusen. Found its way to Frimpong down the right-hand side here. Now Diaby trying to take on his man. Not really quite sure what to do with it. And he loses the ball. Yeah, didn't really know where he was going with that. Loses it. But good play by Palacios there, Mark, again. You mentioned him early doors. He's been quite industrious in there already, winning balls back nicely. Seems very motivated for this matchup, as you would be. So, yeah, good bit of play there. But again, I think there are replays going back to that Azmoun pullback. But just as we have a free kick here for Leverkusen inside the Roma half, so we'll just see where this one goes. Demirbay again, going to be in swinging quite far out, too deep, too rubbish. I'm afraid. So back with Roma in the hands of Rui Patricio. And what's going to be the message at half time, Mark? I mean, the message surely just has to be keep calm and carry on, so to speak. And, we will get them sooner rather than later. And when that chance does come, you've got to be clinical.
Yeah, it is hard. This kind of game is really, really hard actually to know what to do, to be honest, because you can't really fault Leverkusen's performance on one side. They've completely dominated the game. Like, it's been domination. They've had probably 5-6 shots on target, but they've all been from distance. They've hit the post as well, but again, that was an opportunity strike, really. They've not had that clear-cut chance. That's the issue, and that's what Roma will be trying to do. They'll be saying, don't give them that clear-cut chance. And then, Rui Patricio is a very, very good goalkeeper. He's not the kind of guy that's going to let one of those long ranges in. They've had a few good strikes from distance, like that have tested Patricio, but none of them that you've really thought, yeah, that's going to go in. So I guess you can't rely on those long distance strikes to get you a goal, especially at this level of opponent, this level of goalkeeper. So yeah, it is hard to know what to do. I mean, it's not even a case of Roma tiring, because even they're defending so deep that you wouldn't imagine that they'll tire. Although again, some of the long passes are quite good going in there, but again, the defense is just so strong. And Patricio, as I expected, is having a really, really convincing game in that Roma net as well. He seems to be organising his defence well. He's on to every ball. He's making the saves he needs to. It is hard to know what to do, but I mean, whether they can do something to allow Roma to have more of the ball, but I just don't see that happening, to be honest. I just think we'll see more of the same in the second half, and it's just got to be... Again, it's not like they've been mislaying passes as such. Maybe they need to do a bit more from the corners and things like that, because we've seen a few corners that haven't really caused much danger. We know that Bundesliga teams are usually very strong from corners as well. Maybe we need to see a bit more variation in the corner delivery as well. But it is hard to know what to do. They've just got to keep going, because usually in football, if you do dominate a game, you're going to get at least one big chance over the 90 minutes. And I think they will get one or two big chances if this continues in the second half. But it's whether they can take them, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, bit of a stoppage in the match, because that last phase of play led to what looked like a head injury for Ibanez and the defender. But he looks all good, so he's gonna carry on at least until half time. I would suggest he doesn't look too disgruntled by it, so I'm sure he'll actually be fine for the rest of the match. A little bit of chat by Florian Wirtz and Azmoun with the referee about said instance and possibly why it was not given as a free kick or as a foul. But the referee is obviously very, very firm in his stance. Where again, Leverkusen win the ball, win those kind of first and second duels very nicely, but they're just starting to get a little bit careless on the ball now, Leverkusen as well. A few errors, a few errant passes, a few cheaper fouls that they're giving away as well. What they need is a real confidence boost before half-time, Mark, whether it's via a goal or even just via a really big chance to give them a bit of motivation, perhaps, because right now they're still playing all the football, but again, it's it's creating those big chances. And even the Diaby one wasn't necessarily a big one; he just made it himself. Just as they go from a deep cross, almost fell kindly to Azmoun, but again, well defended, and again, dark arts by Leverkusen by Roma flopping to the floor, and it is a free kick to Roma. And I'm just going to jump off screen to switch off my heating, which just come on, or else I'll start to bake. So apologies.
Yeah, so obviously, as Rory mentioned, I mean, Leverkusen do seem to be running out of ideas a bit, but for me, it's mostly about them just kind of, they've got to keep the faith, basically. I do believe that if they dominate the second half in the same way that they've done the first half, the chances will come eventually, even though Roma are the kind of side that are capable of defending for 90 minutes plus without much problem. But, I wouldn't be surprised to see, I mean, obviously already talking to changes, but I wouldn't be surprised to see Amina Adli. This is the kind of game that he needs for me, because I think he is a very tricky player that could maybe get in between the lines a bit more than, he's a kind of similar player to Wirtz in some way, which is, I guess, why he's not started today. But he is a player that can cause problems, maybe a little bit more than Azmoun. I think Azmoun kind of plays into the hands of Roma a little bit. As you mentioned, he's more of an aerial player, I would say, that likes to put himself about a little bit. But I'm not sure. I think Roma defense will be quite happy to defend against a player like him, whereas Amina Adli could maybe, run the lines a little bit more. And I wouldn't be surprised at all to see a direct substitution and see him come on for Asmoon at half time, to be honest.
It did. Asmoon did quite well there in terms of the hold-up play, though, and brought his team up the field. Again, just that last ball, really lacking the quality or the right punch to get through this Roma defence, who have been tested, but they're not exactly holding on for dear life, just as Leverkusen come down the right, back central. Mitchell Bakker almost playing centre mid here, swapping out. Oh, great feet. Florian Wirtz can't get the shot off, though. Still no shot. The shot eventually comes, and it's high and wide and not at all handsome. It's going to be 3 minutes of added on time here. Well, in Leverkusen at least. I think they're just having a quick look at Florian Wirtz. Oh, no, he does get the ball. Dispossession inside the Roma box in case there was maybe a foul, but no, it was still good defending. And Demirbay must have had his 5th shot already, Mark. He's certainly not been shy in this half, but fair play for trying, but it gets to a point where you're like, right, well, you need to stick one on target and you need to strike it true, because if you're going to be relying on these half chances, someone's got to hit a clean shot to get themselves back into this game and obviously level.
Yeah, I think Demirbay is known to be a good striker of the ball, but as you say, maybe he's taken a few too many pops at times. As you say, I think 5, 6, 7 shots he's had in this half, which on one side is good because it proves that he is trying to get that goal. He realizes that they've got a problem getting in behind, so they've got to look for other avenues. But for me, I think, to be honest, the most obvious thing that Leverkusen can do is give the ball to Florian Wirtz as much as possible, because he's again, like I mentioned before, he is the one that can kind of get in between the lines. And yeah, it's he is the one that's caused the most problems by far in this half, really, for Roma. He's the one that'll be worrying them, because Diaby is mostly based on getting in behind, isn't he? Let's be honest, that's his main skill, getting in behind and then clinically finishing it. But Wirtz is the one that can take it round players, draw fouls, win a penalty potentially, just as we saw there with that Demirbay strike, as you said. I mean, he should probably be doing a little bit better with that, in truth, that strike. He does get tripped a little bit, but I always find it frustrating when players balloon it over like that, because, as a player, I always was able to get shots on target. It wasn't always the most powerful shot or the most accurate, but I always get frustrated that players continually balloon shots miles over the bar. It's sometimes it's easier to hit the target than to do that, actually. So it's, but he's had 3 or 4, as you say, just ballooned hopelessly over the bar. I mean, it's just, as you say, at least hit the damn target. But yeah, I mean, he's done well this half, Demirbay, but he's a player that kind of frustrates at times, because he's always very much involved with play, isn't he, Demirbay? But he is wasteful at times. And yeah, this season hasn't been his best, in truth, although he has had a bit of a resurgence of form in recent weeks. But yeah, I mean, as for Roma, they've literally... Have you ever known a team, Rory, to do less in a half of football than what they've done?
I mean, yeah, it's not been premium football at our doorstep this evening from the away side. But all Mourinho is going to say as well, my boys are now halfway, 3/4 of the way to a Europa League final, just as the referee brings a close, although there's a bit of testiculating with the players on the Leverkusen side. But yeah, it is indeed half-time. And so, yeah, it will be an interesting dressing room chat particularly for Xabi Alonso. His boys need to, they need to come out in the second half rejuvenated with the same energy as they started the match. And, what have they got to lose? They can go all guns blazing perhaps after 60-odd minutes and really test this Roma side, who have seen out the first half of their job this evening, and it currently stands at 0-0 this evening, and therefore we stand at 1-0 to Roma. Overall, over the course of the first and second legs, and currently they are going through to the Europa League final. So what we'll do is in half time, obviously, if we get any questions in about the match, about any fantasy football, so if there are any fantasy football people that are coming on and joining us, by all means, fire your questions in, and we will get to them as and when we can do. And if Runa can join in the chat a little bit as well, he will do it. I think he said if he can, he will. But he's also covering the game for Bully News. So we shall see. But in the meantime, we will do our predictions for match week 33 of the Bundesliga. Obviously, with another huge set of fixtures this weekend, Mark. Lots of fixtures on Sky Sports in England, I'm glad to say. I think there are six actually across the weekend. So absolutely buzzing to be able to watch plenty of those matches. But do you want to kind of run us through them then, and we'll do our predictions starting off with Friday night's fixture?
Yeah, definitely. So, yeah, as you mentioned, also over here, there's quite a lot of games, but not as many as 6, unfortunately. But yeah, starting off on Friday evening, probably one of the games with the least relying on it, really, even though Freiburg is still in with a chance of getting Champions League. They need a win here at home against Wolfsburg. Remember the reverse fixture here, Wolfsburg won 6-0 famously as well in the first game back after the World Cup. Yeah. So, Rory, what do you think for that then?
I mean, yeah, there's more riding on it for Freiburg, isn't there? So you'd expect them to do the job, but their confidence has been knocked, hasn't it, in recent weeks? But yeah, to maybe take it to the last match week with the Bayern RB Leipzig match possibly presenting an extra opportunity for them, I'll go with a narrow 2-1 win for Freiburg.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go for 2-1 Freiburg. I just think at home they don't usually lose. So, yeah, you've got to back Freiburg 2-1. Yeah, moving on to Saturday. So we got Hoffenheim, Union Berlin. Yeah, but one more win needed for Union to, confirm Champions League. Hoffenheim need points to avoid relegation. They probably still need another 3 points. They won't want to go into that Stuttgart game on the last day needing something. So, for me, I'm going to go for, I think Union, they've not been travelling well in recent weeks. So I'm actually going to go for a Hoffenheim win, similar to the game against Augsburg a couple of weeks ago. I'm going to go for a 1-0 Hoffenheim win here.
Yeah, it's obviously a game where both teams are still desperate for points on both sides for different reasons. Union, yeah, maybe travelling not so well. I mean, their home record is imperious. It's almost as good as, say, Dortmund's, for example. They really have got, I think they're on a club record run anyway at home, but they're not. I could see this being a draw. I might go for a 1-1.
Yeah, okay. Then the next Saturday game, I mean, this is a definition of like a basement battle, really, in between Hertha Berlin and Bochum. Obviously, Bochum, they knew they needed 2 wins from last week's game against Augsburg, which they won, and then this game against Hertha. I still feel as though they want to win this game, even though a point will not be the worst thing in the world, depending on other results. Yeah, it's a very hard one to tip this because Bochum don't travel well. They're another side that I always trust more at home. Hertha absolutely need a win unless they'll be relegated before the last day. I've got a feeling, though, that it'll finish 1-1 this. I think Bochum, it's the kind of game you could say a point doesn't really suit either side, but I think it kind of does suit Bochum because, they don't get that many points on the road. So I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw.
Yeah. Pure desperation times for Hertha Berlin. The way this relegation race has gone this season, though, leaves you thinking like it's always the unexpected that happens. We've all written off Hertha to a certain extent, and then they came and then they beat Stuttgart to keep themselves just about in the fight. Funny feeling that they might do it, and beat Bochum. I'll go 2-1 Hertha. Yeah, just got a feeling that they might do it.
Yeah, and then another bit of, well, again, it's more relevant for the bottom is Schalke versus Frankfurt. Yeah, this is again a hard one to tip because Frankfurt finally ended that 2.5 month winless run in the Bundesliga, but they seem to be getting back to what they were, obviously fighting for cup spots as well. Obviously, that cup final on the 3rd of June coming closer. So they seem to have got the proverbial finger out in recent weeks a bit more, don't they? But Schalke, no, this is truly a must win for them, knowing that they go away to Leipzig on the last day. Then I think anything short of a win here and they'll get relegated, to be honest. So with that in mind and Schalke's recent brilliant home form, I'm going to go for a 2-1 home win here for Schalke.
Yeah, again, motivations and desperation come to mind for Schalke's point of view. Although Frankfurt, obviously, as you mentioned, finally got that win, they will obviously want to go into the Pokal final with at least a shred of good form and a shred of confidence. Up against RB Leipzig, who, obviously DFB Pokal holders. So yeah, I've tipped Schalke on this one for a long way coming in terms of seeing what the fixture was. So I'm also probably going to have to back them and put the pressure duly on to VFB and co. So I will go probably copy you, probably say 2-1.
Yeah, then we've got basically a mid-table battle between Werder Bremen and FC Köln. I mean, obviously Köln, one of the form teams of the Bundesliga at the moment, especially away from home. They've been really, really good in recent weeks. They've been scoring goals, creating chances. But yeah, obviously Werder will want to finish on a good way, won't they, as well? But Werder, it's just not been working for them in recent weeks. I don't think they've been bad, but they've been losing a lot of games in recent weeks, And obviously last week it was 2 late goals again that did them against Leipzig. And it's a hard one to tip this because you've got to question what really Köln's motivation will be. Like technically, Bremen incredibly are not 100% out of the relegation, even though I think they still will be, even if they lose both the last 2 games. But they're not mathematically safe, yeah. So I think there's a little bit more motivation for Bremen, but the injuries has just kind of curtailed the end of their season. I think they need Füllkrug back. Dutch also got injured as well, didn't he? And as a result, I'm actually going to go for an away win. I think Cologne are going to finish the season well. 3-1, I'm going to go for that.
Yeah, it feels like a phrase that we've used a lot on the show in recent weeks and even months now with Werder. They've not played badly, with injuries in mind and things like that, which have meant that results haven't gone their way. But I mean, like you say, it's a weird one, the fact that they're not mathematically safe, because it feels like they've been safe since like halfway into the season or something like that. They've, been a breath of fresh air since they've come up and, and played some really exciting football. So I'll go for an exciting 2-2 draw in this one, I think.
Yeah, it's kind of a game when the pressures are off, so sometimes the goals go in, don't they, at this stage? But yeah, obviously then we're getting on to the real big stuff now. Saturday evening, Bayern Munich against RB Leipzig. I mean, this is the one that everyone's waiting for. This is probably going to be the game, in truth, that this is going to be the game that decides the German title this year, in my opinion. But I'm actually quite optimistic that Leipzig can get some. I think Leipzig are playing really, really well at the moment. I just think some of the performances away against Freiburg were superb in both games. And I think even last week against Werder, that was a high-quality game of football, I thought. And I didn't think they were bad, even though they only won with the last kick of the match there at home against Werder. And I think that Leipzig can get some. And I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw. I think they won't quite win at the Allianz, but I think they will get a vital point there. 2-2 for me.
Yeah, if Nkunku goes into mad, crazy, creating chances mode, then they've got every chance. Feels like a game that could be filled with goals as well. The optimist in me in terms of wanting someone else to win the Bundesliga, and for all the time that we have done the show, I think we have to clarify that I and Mark we're not anti Bayern.
Yeah.
we just like to see the competition and it, and it go all the way. With that in mind, I will piggyback your score again, and I will go with a 2-2 draw.
Yeah, definitely going to be watching that one though on Saturday evening. Looking forward to that one. And then, moving on to Sunday, a big game for Rory's boys and Stuttgart. Yeah, I mean, we've got a super Sunday in action, really, haven't we? I'm really looking forward to that. Going to make sure I watch as many live games as possible this week as the season draws to a close. But yeah, Mainz, Stuttgart, again, this is a hard one because Mainz have actually hit their worst run of the season just at the wrong time. They've lost 3 in a row and they've conceded 9 goals in those 3 games as well. Yeah. So, the likes of Guirassy are going to be kind of licking their lips against an off-form Mainz back line. But Mainz are a very good home team. They lost against Schalke in the last game, but I thought that was pretty much one of Schalke's best performances of the season that day. I thought they were absolutely brilliant that day. And whether Stuttgart can get to that kind of level, I'm not sure, even though we have seen a level of improvement. Yeah, I'm really sorry, Rory, but I've got a feeling that Mainz might just take this one, I think, to finish the home season on good form. I'm going to go for a 3-1 home win here, I think.
3-1, okay. Yeah, I mean, there has been optimism, perhaps, maybe the wrong word, but because of the Mainz form and indeed possibly the Mainz personnel / injuries that could be presenting over the weekend. So yeah, perhaps an opportunity for Guirassy to get a couple of pivotal and vital goals for VfB. So yeah, really tricky situation for the away side, and I think, as you already said, Mark, they maybe need 4 points to get the playoff place and possibly, 6 points to get out of that situation entirely. So, why not? I might as well be optimistic whilst they're still in the Bundesliga. So I'll go 2-1. 2-1 to the VfB.
Okay, that would be massive, yeah. And then another big game, especially depending on how Bayern Munich do. Well, it'll be big regardless if we want to see the title go into the last day. Augsburg versus BVB, Borussia Dortmund. I mean, on one side, this looks like it should be a banker really for Dortmund against an Augsburg side who not really finished the season as well as they started it, definitely. But I think you've got to remember that Augsburg are a very strong home team. They don't lose many home games at all. They've only actually lost once at home since Christmas. So that has to be bared in mind. But again, it's a similar game to the Bochum one a few weeks ago. You think surely they've got to win this, but like away from home, Dortmund have not been that good at times this season. Most of their form has been at home, but I am going to still go for them to win this, but only just. I think it'll be a 2-1 win for Dortmund.
Yeah, again, I think this will be really important based on the start that the away side makes to the match. Should they get an early goal, I can see them comfortably going through and maybe getting a 2-0 scoreline or 3-1 perhaps. If it starts to get nervy and tetchy and it's 1-1 perhaps towards the end, then you really are thinking this is struggle street. But I will back them. I'm going to say 3-1. I can see it going to the last day at the very least.
Yeah, and then obviously the last game is a game with not very much riding on it, but should be an entertaining one. Leverkusen that we're obviously watching tonight, and Gladbach. Yeah, I mean, for Gladbach, it's probably a bigger game in some ways because I think, to be honest, like Daniel Farke is under a lot of pressure. Like early season, we had the Gladbach fan on and they seemed pleased as punch with him, didn't they? But Gladbach fans are a hard bunch to please, to be honest. And they often seem pretty disgruntled with what's going on at the club, and it seems as though he could even end up losing his job. So a win here will potentially get a few more fans back on side, but it's a hard one to predict because, again, Leverkusen, you've really got to question their motivation because if, say, they win tonight, then, they'll only be one game away from the Champions League. But if they lose tonight, they'll have to put a full team out and win to get in the Europa League again next year. So a lot depends on tonight's result, in my opinion. But I'm still going to go for a Leverkusen win because they have got a big squad that can kind of make rotations. And I think a 2-0 Leverkusen win is a likely score.
Yeah, tricky one, like you say. Depends what happens tonight. And speaking of tonight, the players are now back on the pitch. Haven't kicked off just yet, so we'll finish off this. And Ballum has also put in a question in regards to the Zweite Bundesliga and three Liga. So we'll come to that as well. Looks like what is that? Genie Wijnaldum, a former Liverpool boy, could well be coming on as a halftime sub for Roma as well. So a quality player in that sense, entering the fray. I will go with I'll back Leverkusen still. I think they'll. Wijnaldum on for Belotti. I think that says everything, doesn't it, Mark? In terms of what the second half might be like. I'll back Leverkusen still. I'll go 2-1. Some amazing amount of pyrotechnics going on. Can you see that on your screen, Mark?
Yeah.
Home end. Wow, that's pretty crazy. So clearly, I think it was the home end. It might have even been the Roma fans. I'm not too sure. The red flares are well and truly going off here at the start of the second half. 45 minutes, and we will know who is in the Europa League. Well, maybe not. Maybe more than 45 minutes, actually. Depends on what happens. We hope it is a positive one for Leverkusen. They have started off the second half in possession, but the game has been halted.
It is the Leverkusen fans who are setting them off, yeah.
Right. It looks like the game's been halted because of the smoke. So whilst that's happening, whilst we've got a pause in play, let's just quickly come to Ballum's questions then. In relation to the Zweite Bundesliga, Darmstadt aren't promoted just yet. It's obviously between Hamburg and Heidenheim and Darmstadt going all the way. Mark, who do we think the top three? Well, who's going to get promoted automatically out of those three?
That is $1 million question. Yeah, the Zweite Liga is just an absolutely insane league. It really is. I'd recommend anyone following that. It's absolutely insane. Yeah, I'm still going to go for Darmstadt because they've still got a 4-point lead. I think that still should be enough with 2 games to go. They just need one more win, but it's easier said than done. They've been in that position for the last 2 weeks, actually, as well. I think it's more likely to be between Heidenheim and Hamburg. But I think based on how the way things have gone the last few years for Hamburg, I'm still going to go for Heidenheim to see it out. I think both teams have got favourable fixtures, but to be honest, at this stage of the season, it's more on nerve rather than anything, I think, really. And I think Heidenheim, they had a poor result last week, but in general, they've been on very good form and they've been dealing with the title race well. Whereas Hamburg just don't seem to be able to get back into the Bundesliga at all. So I'm going to go for Heidenheim and Darmstadt to see it through.
Yeah, it's almost like Heidenheim don't have that pressure that Hamburg have, hanging over them because of how long Hamburg have been in the Zweite Bundesliga. So yeah, you kind of almost associate, naturally there will be nerves, but maybe not as many, especially with expectation. The game is just about kicked off again with Leverkusen in control of the ball, but it is still very smoky out there. But naturally, visibility is good enough for the players to play, so that's all good. I think we only lost a few minutes play to that. That will naturally be added on towards the end of the match. Interesting one that I'll kind of raise in a minute, Mark, for a question for you. But just in relation to the second part of Ballum's question, are your boys going to survive the drop?
That is another big question. Yeah, I mean, obviously the game against Hansa Rostock this weekend is going to be massive. I wouldn't fancy going away to Paderborn and getting a result, but I do. Nuremberg at home, they tend to get wins in this kind of game against bottom half teams at home. So I'm confident they can get the result this weekend. I think they'll get a 1-0 win, and that'll be just enough for them to avoid the relegation playoff. But overall, it's been a really, really poor season for FC Nuremberg, especially in the attack. I think they've only scored 26 goals in 32 games, which is just ridiculously poor. And, they basically survived on 1-0 wins against bottom half teams at home. So it's been a dreadful season, and all Nuremberg fans will just be happy for it to be over, basically, and still with the Zweite Liga status intact.
Yeah, very interesting. Bielefeld in the playoff spot, could be 2 relegations in 2 years. Absolutely nuts. crazy league, the Zweite. We haven't been able to do our yearly collab with obviously with the Zweite Bundesliga podcast, unfortunately. We'll see if we can get that in last minute before the season is out. But love the work that Ava and Matthew do on that show, which is brilliant. So yeah, really interesting stuff. Some good questions there. We'll hopefully be able to link up with those guys soon. Anyway, yeah, the game is back on. We've had pretty much 5 minutes already of the second half, and because of obviously the flares disruption, nothing has really happened. But Leverkusen do have a throw in here with Jeremy Frimpong, with Leverkusen in control of the ball, and some good work there by, I think it's Florian Wirtz. I honestly can't tell because of the smoke, but it ends up being a Roma free kick. Anyway, my question for you, Mark, is if the home fans of a team decide to start letting off flares, and therefore the game has to be stopped, do you think that should be added on time at the end of the match? Or as in, should it just be fair play? Your home fans have created a mess and made the game stop. You should lose the time as a result.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about that myself just before you asked that. Yeah, but it's I was wondering what the referee will actually do as well, because I'm not sure exactly what the rule is for that. But yeah, I think, in my opinion, flares are part of the atmosphere, especially on the continent. Like, I mean, I've seen it in a few countries as well, and to see it live is like quite a spectacular thing. You know,
It is.
I mean, I've never been actually in a stand where they've done the flares, which maybe you feel a bit differently if you're actually next to them. But I mean, to see them is quite like, wow, really. I mean, it really is quite a spectacle. And for me, there is a place for them in the game. Yeah, I do believe there is. But yeah, it's kind of annoying I mean, obviously, even now, like, we're watching the game and like you can barely see it because of the smoke. It is clearing a little bit now, the last minute or so. But yeah, I mean, and also when you're in the stadium, it's even worse to see as well, because I would imagine most of the fans are struggling to see what's going on the pitch now. But for me, yeah, I think the referee, at the end of the day, the ref chooses to stop the game. It's not the fans who force them to stop the game, you know. So I guess it's not always stopped when you see the situation. So for me, I would say they should add the time on, but I'm not sure really whether the referee has the power to decide that, because obviously in some ways they're kind of inflicting their own team, because I think about 3 minutes of play were lost there as well.
Well, yeah. And the fact that they're doing it at the end of which they're shooting. Like, you could have Serdar Azmoun through on goal and he can't see the goal because there's too much smoke in front of him. But yeah, no, obviously completely get it. You know the fanfare and the flares, which are really, impressive to see on screen as well. So no, absolutely, I do get that point. And as you say, it has cleared more or less now, and we are well and truly back into the semi-final and well and truly back into, the contest. And, we kind of glossed over the change there, Mark, at half time. But Jose Mourinho sending out a clear message that I'm putting on a centre midfielder for a player who plays further forward. Belotti, obviously, at the end of the day, is a striker. So setting up shop, knows his players will know the memo and the impetus, the job at hand is going to be for Leverkusen to break down a side in, 40 minutes now and score a goal and take this game to extra time or score 2 goals.
Yeah, I think it definitely makes sense from a Roma perspective, because I mean, Belotti was almost a passenger really in the first game, in the first half, as was Abraham. Really, you definitely, if you're playing that defensive, you don't need 2 strikers at the end of the day, do you? So yeah. I can totally understand why. I mean, Gini Wijnaldum is a very, experienced player who's won Champions Leagues as well. So, I mean, I don't know why he's not, a little bit surprised to see he's not starting, because he was always considered to be like a leading light for Liverpool, wasn't he, as well? Obviously, probably getting on a little bit now. But yeah, I mean, he is a quality player with experience. So I think that's a good substitution from their perspective. A little bit surprised to see nothing from Leverkusen as well, because as I mentioned, I would like to see Amina Adli. And we don't know if he's maybe picking up a knock, but I mean, he's been on really good form in recent weeks too. It probably doesn't get quite the goals that maybe you'd want from a forward. I think he's only got 6 goals in the league this season, which is maybe one thing that Xabi Alonso doesn't like about him. But obviously, we saw him completely rip Bayern Munich apart a few weeks ago, didn't we? Winning 2 penalties in that game in the Bayern Munich win. So yeah, a little bit surprised to see him not play, but. You know, Xabi Alonso knows what he's doing. Again, Roma players are going down whenever they can. You know, that they're going to go stick with this plan right to the very end. I'm not even sure if Leverkusen score whether they'll come out and attack more. I just don't think they're set up to do that, especially now that Belotti's gone off as well. I mean, as you say, it's not been the prettiest game of football you're ever going to see because it's just been pure attack versus defence, hasn't it? That doesn't always kind of lead to being the best games, in truth. But it's been interesting tactically. I mean, I always like to see 2 styles of football, but this has been extreme defending, I would say, from Roma at times.
Yeah, absolutely. They won another cheap free kick there to stop a Leverkusen attack. So 55 minutes, just about gone. And obviously, we will probably get a good chunk of added on time. So we're probably kind of, that was a very interesting tackle here. What colour are we going to see? Yellow card for Palacios. That was a bit overindulgent on Nemanja Matic. The referee was very quick to go to his top pocket. Yeah, it's a bad tackle. I don't think it's worthy of a red card. Yeah, he comes down on him. So quite a presentable opportunity here for Roma in a relatively high up part of the pitch, which has been rare for them to swing in what could be a dangerous delivery. But Nemanja Matic is on the floor and they'll probably take their time again over the free kick. I mean, yeah, there's players all around him at the moment. This free kick won't happen again for another 30 seconds to a minute. So yeah, really, really frustrating. Whilst we have a quick second, just a quick nod to one of our partners this season who have been obviously the brilliant Bundesliga boxes. And basically the Bundesliga boxes sister company, Covert Footy Trips, in which you can get yourselves following on Twitter and go online to find them. Obviously providing mystery German football experiences over the course of weekends, of which you get to experience, German football matches as a part of your trip over there. It's a fantastic company which is linked to or a sister company to Bundesliga boxes, and we hope to be doing a bit more work with said company in the future. So shout out to them. Make sure you get on to Twitter to give them a follow. I'll bring up the details on my phone to tell you exactly what their handle is a little bit later on. But whilst we're waiting for this free kick, just a quick nod to them to make sure you check them out. And perfect timing. We're finally at this free kick mark. So let's just see what happens here. It's going to be an outswinger. It's curled in very nicely. Oh, that is fantastically well defended by Leverkusen. Someone with an outstretched foot hooking it back in. The Roma advance nicely. Ooh, almost penalty there, but I think again good defending or a good decision by a Leverkusen defender not to engage. And the danger has been averted for now, Mark. But just a very quick reminder that, we're now into the second half and a Roma goal would be fairly catastrophic for the home side.
Yeah, I mean, a red card there would also have been very catastrophic, I think. Yeah, I mean, that's not what you want to be doing. I agree that yellow card was correct, but it was still a very clumsy challenge from a player that probably should know better. I mean, he's still a young man, but he's quite experienced for obviously a World Cup winner as well. I think he didn't start every game for Argentina, but he was definitely in and around the squad. He definitely, I think he made an appearance in the final as a substitute as well. So yeah, you've got to be showing a bit more experience than that. Matic has had a real good game, and this is his kind of game, isn't it? Let's be honest. I mean, Matic is probably absolutely loving himself out there because this is exactly his kind of match, and he has been one of the better players on the pitch so far. As you mentioned, Jonathan Tah, he's had another good game despite not having that much to do. Like when he has needed to do something, he's been very, very good. And it's nice to see him having improved so much under Xabi Alonso, this Rutrunder as well, because he was a player that was really starting to his career looked in limbo, to be honest, at one time, because he was making so many mistakes at one point that you were wondering whether he was even going to get kept on at Leverkusen, maybe get shipped out to a lower team. But yeah, he looks like he could potentially either stay at Leverkusen or get a big move. But yeah, again, Wirtz, two men doubling up on him, weren't they? And again, foul. They're quite a dirty team, this Roma side, which, let's be honest, is not a surprise in some ways. But yeah, they are going in double tackles on Wirtz. Has that free kick taken place yet, Rory?
The free kick has taken place, and it wasn't a bad delivery, but just had too much on it. And Tammy Abraham actually did a bit of good defending at the back post and deflected the ball onto Tapsoba for a goal kick. So that is where we are. The referee just having a bit of a chat with his fourth official about something. Might be in relation to something Xabi Alonso said, or not too sure what that was about. But the game will go on, and again, we're now drifting. Well, we've drifted into the 60th minute. The second half has absolutely flown by, not because of necessarily the action, but just because of, we had the delay, and then we've had about 3 or 4 free kicks, which have each taken about 2 minutes each to take. And all of a sudden we've, in theory, got half an hour left of the match, which is just crazy. But we will have a large chunk of added on time. I have no doubt about that. And still, we plod on, Mark, and surely now 60 minutes in, we've got to turn our heads to that bench. And as you say, look at Admin Ali. Obviously, the summer signing Hosjek has had fits and bursts of good form, but is obviously going to be someone who's capable of scoring a goal. They're obviously the two names that stand out immediately from a subs point of view. And obviously they may be changing the system slightly and taking off Azmoun, for example, as that target man and just go hell for leather from a pace point of view.
Yeah, it is starting to get a little bit frustrating at the moment. Another man you've not mentioned, and a man who's really been a bit of a kind of transfer bust, really, is Callum Hudson-Odoi as well. He's also on the bench, but I mean, a lot of people had really big hopes for him, didn't they? But he has been the definition of a transfer bust, really. He's just not settled into life in Germany at all. And when they first signed him, I thought he could even be the signing of the season, to be honest, because I really rated him at Chelsea. I thought he was a player that, he was kind of unlucky that Chelsea decided to spend all that money, really, didn't they? But yeah, I think he was a player that was, he was Chelsea first team for a couple of seasons, but he's just been a transfer bust, unfortunately. We might see him as a last throw of the dice, but I wouldn't expect it to be before the last 10 minutes. I agree that I think the most likely face has got to be Amina Adli. He's got to come on within the next 5 minutes for me. For me, this isn't the kind of game you want to be leaving into the last 10 minutes to make your subs, because my worry is at the moment, Roma are looking more comfortable than they've probably done in the whole match, in truth. And that's not a good sign for Leverkusen. And this is getting a little bit worrying for Leverkusen, because the second half has just been a non-event, basically, in truth. Nothing's happened at all in the second half. And this is absolutely perfect for Roma. Everything... To be honest, their evening has gone exactly to plan in many ways. They've been very, very resolute defensively. They've not made a single error defensively or in the goalkeeping positions. Yep. They're not going to win any awards for beautiful football, that's for sure. But, at the end of the day, they are a side that, they want to make the Europa League final. And, Mourinho will want to get another Europa League on his CV, especially when everyone thought he was finished as well. This would be quite a big thing for him. Just as, Baka, that was the one big chance there, Bakker, to get the ball in, Rory, wasn't it? And he's just kind of completely, really nice ball out from Demirbay to Bakker, and he tries to put the first time ball in, he just shanks it off his foot. Oh,
Yeah.
Asmoon was waiting as well, and it was the one time in the second half that Leverkusen have really torn Roma apart, Rory.
Yeah, and speaking of getting down into those areas, Jeremy Frimpong's just played some really nice football, got in behind, gets to the byline, tries to pick out a man, but there is a Roma defender there, so it comes off him, and we now have a corner kick. Mark's just gone off screen, so I'll keep on talking us through the corner. In swinger, looks too deep, is too deep. There's going to be a throw-in. Disappointing ball in there by Demirbay, but Florian Wirtz is quick to whip in a ball himself, and it is cleared. So it's back with the goalkeeper, back in the Leverkusen half, and they have to build again. So, all the possession, if you look at this game from a statistics point of view, is going to read favourably for Leverkusen, but, even from a shots point of view, but I'm sure the XG is probably quite low because they've not been clear cut by any stretch. Just they come forward here down the right hand side again. Frimpong gets the byline. Again, well defended, doesn't beat the first man. Whips in again here. Well defended by Roma. Okay, so the Leverkusen pressure is really starting to build here. Oh, good header by Asmoon. But straight at the goalkeeper again. Mark, the intensity of Leverkusen is at least now starting to build a bit more, and they're starting to gain a bit more momentum. And you can actually feel the pressure somewhat more in the second half is actually just about starting to get going from a Leverkusen point of view.
Yeah, that's what they need to do now. Time is running out at the end of the day. They've got to commit bodies forward. They've got to take risks as well. I think they've got to speed the play up a little bit, get it down the wides a bit. And as you say, that's what they have done the last couple of minutes at least. Yeah, as I mentioned, I've been a bit disappointed with some of Demirbay's deliveries at times. That was a poor corner as well that came in from that. In this kind of game, it can be the set plays that kind of decide it. If you're struggling to create chances through open play, the set plays need to be better, don't they, Rory, really?
Yeah, absolutely. Leverkusen have done well again, though, to win the ball back really quickly from Roma, and their Roma are really camped in now. It just needs to be a moment of quality from the quality players that they have. Oh, lining up a long shot. It's actually a good one. The rebound is cleared by a Roma defender. It's going to be a corner. Asmoon's complaining that he thinks he was pulled away. Demirbay actually gets a hold of one really accurately. It is going to go in. It would have gone in. It's a good save by Rui Patricio. It's well defended, you have to say, on the rebound. And it will be a corner kick here for Leverkusen. So let's just see this one out. Let's see where this corner comes from. As you mentioned, Mark, pressure on Demirbay to hit his man, hit his target. It's going to be another in-swinger. Once they allow him to do it, I think there's a momentary pause. Not entirely sure what it is for, but yeah, we're good to go again on screen. So the corner's going to come in now, closer to the goalkeeper and straight into his arms. So yeah, poor again, unfortunately, Mark. Demirbay can't quite get the right medium between hitting it long or too short or right at the goalkeeper. There's been a goal in Sevilla and it's gone to Juventus. So Vlahovic has scored for Juve. I think that makes it, is that 1-1 on aggregate now?
2-1. Yeah, they're ahead.
Wow, there you go. Big goal in Spain then. Just as Leverkusen go long again. So what we're in the 68th minute now. So if you say 22 minutes of normal time plus at least, I'm saying 5 minutes of added on time, if not more. So we could still have half an hour's worth of football left. tonight on this watch-along, plus potentially extra time if Leverkusen get 1 goal. But can they get 2? Please stay tuned with us to find out. Just as, again, Leverkusen start to build, Mark, and they're going down the left-hand side here, although Mitchell Bakker has lost the ball. Having said all that, obviously we're getting close to 70-odd minutes, Mark, and we still haven't seen a change from Xabi Alonso.
Yeah, I know it is, but I think he was probably on the verge of doing so. But now, since this kind of resurgence, the last 5 minutes, maybe he's thinking, give it another 5 minutes, give it another 7 minutes. But yeah, for me, I'm a little bit surprised to see that Azmoun's been given so long, because I just don't think he's ever really got into the game. He had that header a few minutes ago, which was, it was a decent header, but it was always comfortable, and he just doesn't offer enough, at least in this Leverkusen side for me. I think really Adli, and we don't know if he's carrying or not, but there is quality on that Leverkusen bench. That's a frustrating thing, like Hudson-Odoi a chance, maybe even he can kind of thrive on this big stage. Obviously he's a player that has played in the Champions League and on high. I think he even got a couple of England caps, didn't he, as well?
He has.
So yeah, he is a player that has played on the high level before, but yeah, I can sort of see, from a management perspective, I can sort of see why he wants to stick with it. I think managers are always kind of convinced by the starting 11, aren't they? Because at the end of the day, that's why they choose that 11. They build a team around the 11 that they pick. But yeah, often I think nowadays more and more managers leave it too long before they make the substitutions. And we do need to start seeing bodies prep now and fresh legs, because... But my worry is that Roma still look pretty comfortable, in truth. I think they've ridden the storm of that couple of minutes when Leverkusen were good. And there's never really been a moment when you think, God, they're really going to concede at some point. As Balance says, we are on course for an all-Italian final as well, if scores stay the same. Obviously on top of Inter Milan in the final of the Champions League as well. So it's been one of those years for Italian teams, and it's been a real resurgence of Italian football. Obviously, Napoli winning the Scudetto as well, which personally I'm very happy with, because I've always been a fan of Napoli over in Italy. But yeah, it's been a good season for Italian football. But yeah, will we see, obviously from a Bundesliga perspective, we really, really hope that we will see a late goal here, just as Bakker gets booked. He's not had one of his better nights really tonight, has he, Bakker?
No, stupid foul. It's just the absolute epitome of thick footballers for me. Where is he going with that tackle? Matic is just waiting for him to do it. Thick, stupid, deserves his yellow card. Just as it looks like it could well be Admin Adli time. I think he is prepped and ready to come on by the looks of the pictures. But again, Leverkusen are now building down the right-hand side here. Ball into Frimpong, into the final third of the Roma half. Again, just a bit too much play, but they've won it back again here. Frimpong, can they get across into the box? They delay. They're trying to switch it out to the left-hand side here. Florian Wirtz has the ball. Exchanging passes with Palacios. Tries to drive inside, but loses the ball. And then that's going to be a foul as well. How frustrating this game is, Mark, from a Bundesliga and from a Leverkusen point of view. It was Hincapié who gave away the free kick. At least will allow Leverkusen to make their change. We're now getting points where the likes of Florian Wirtz and Co are trying to take the game into their own hands and win the match on their own. Interesting sub here. So Admin Adli is coming on for Mitchell Bakker. So that will mean a shift of shape potentially to a back four. And Admin Adli possibly joining Azmoun up front as a 2, potentially, Mark, and kind of going with that 4-4-2 formation potentially.
Yeah, definitely. I think they've got to throw on what they can. I think it's a case of them going to be taking a few more risks, but Yeah, it's I wouldn't quite say final throw of the dice, but obviously we're on about 73 minutes now. Obviously Demirbay, as you mentioned, Baka going off there. A little bit surprised only one sub. I mean, Hlozek did come in for big money. I would have thought he would have been trusted as well to come on at this stage, but I just think it's that Xabi Alonso, obviously, he knows his key players, the likes of Diaby and Wirtz, and he wants to keep them out there, and I do understand that because they are players that have won games on their own before. They, regular goal scorers, regular assisters, but yeah, it's just starting to get a bit frustrating, isn't it? I mean, Demirbay, how many shots has he had on target? Really?
So
I'd love to know actually just how many. I mean, to be honest, the stats look quite good from a Leverkusen perspective as well. It looks like if you just looked at the stats, you'd think they've completely dominated the game. To be honest,
well, yeah.
By the way, an equaliser for Sevilla as well. The Europa League experts are back level in. They just don't know when they're beating those boys, do they, Sevilla? I mean, what a record they have in this tournament. Completely ridiculous, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you look at the statistics for Leverkusen, it looks so they've just completely hammered them. I mean, they've had 15 shots to 1, 6 on target to none, 4 corners to 1, and 71 possession to 29. I mean, on paper, it looks like they've dominated, but in reality, it's not really seemed like that at times, has it?
No, I was saying when you briefly popped off screen that, statistically, good ball, Azmoun can't get there and it drifts out. Statistically, it's going to look pretty for Leverkusen, but the game has been far from pretty, hasn't it? Diaby drifting in a nice ball there, but not good enough. Azmoun not on the move quick enough, and it's a goal kick again. Oh, it might have been Admin Adli, his first involvement in the game actually, so that's a positive start from him. Just as Roma again. Roma have made a few subs, including Chris Smalling coming on, so obviously a former Man United boy. Props to him. He's had a very good career so far with Roma. I think he's been quite popular over in Italy, so fair play to him. There's 2 former United boys on the pitch as we speak. Good grief.
2 Englishmen as well, obviously Abraham as well.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. So yeah, plenty of familiar faces on the pitch for everyone to be watching. But of course, we are Bundesliga biased. So yeah, we're still cheering on Leverkusen as they come forward here on 76 minutes gone. So still 20 minutes, I say, at least we've added on time. They come down the right-hand side here with Frimpong into Wirtz. The 2-1, the 1-2 doesn't work. All those kind of nice, intricate bits of play, and it's not happening. Roma can maybe break here, but whoever's on the ball for Roma had a chance to break, and he literally ran about 10 meters like, nah, this is not how we're playing, and passed it backwards. that just sums it up perfectly. He is not asked about scoring a goal in the slightest. He just turned around and was like, yeah, let's keep the ball. So that tells you everything you need to know about their mentality for the rest of this evening. There's another Roma player on the floor. But yeah, we're playing to the Jose Mourinho tune at the moment, Mark. It is just being orchestrated perfectly by his team and by probably his instructions as well.
Yeah, I mean, the truth is the second half has been hard on the eyes, hasn't it? Let's be honest. It's not been... The first half was pretty watchable, I mean, Leverkusen were playing some nice football, especially through the likes of Frimpong, Diaby, even Wirtz at times. But the second half is it's very frustrating from a Leverkusen perspective. I think if they lose this tie, they won't sleep for a week, really, because, I mean... you could argue that Roma simply haven't done enough over 2 legs to go and play a European final, really. Because, I mean, I watched the first leg and they did a bit more in attack, but it was still a lot of it was Leverkusen making the attacks last week as well. So, I mean, Leverkusen will be frustrated if they lose this. But I mean, in many ways, they've just been Mourinho'd, really, I would say. I mean, the whole, it's not been a pretty tie, in truth. It really hasn't. I mean, I'm not going to sit there and pretend it's been 2 great games of football, but
No.
it's not. And I mean, obviously, the fact that we've only seen 1 goal in, 170 minutes now, that kind of sums it up, doesn't it? But,
yeah,
I mean, Leverkusen, it will be the one that got away for me for Leverkusen, because this Roma side, they're not world beaters, in truth. You know, they've not got that much quality going on the ball, I don't think, really. And as a result, they just decided to play very, very defensively over the 2 legs, Rory.
Yeah, very much so. Sorry, got a little bit excited by a deflected Jonathan Tah effort, which went out in the end for a corner. The camera angle that I had looked like it was going in.
It looked it from where I saw it too.
Yeah, so the corner unfortunately comes to nothing, and then Diaby gives away a free kick in the end. So Roma again get an opportunity to take 30 seconds, take 45 seconds out of the match, which they are duly doing. So we are now on 79 minutes. I think obviously for everyone that was watching this evening, we were expecting a close match. We were expecting a match probably of few amount of goals, but slightly disappointed in the fact that we haven't seen any to date. I don't think we've ever had a goalless draw on the Watchalong, Mark. So there is still time. There is still time for it to not be the case. But we are starting to dangerously drift, just as we see Leverkusen making another change, and Hozek has joined the party. Didn't actually see who he came on for. So, Mark, when it happens on your screen, you'll have to let me know. But yeah, 10 minutes, 15 minutes with added on time. It's, everyone forwards. Let's gamble. Just as they come down the right-hand side here again with Frimpong. Good ball into the middle. Oh, does it fall in? Oh, what a chance. Asmoon.
I knew it would fall to him.
Off, yeah. Bit of a deflection. Ends up being quite lucky that it falls to him in the end. And he gets his effort off kind of on the half volley, and it maybe goes a yard wide in the end. And
it's Palacios who's gone off, by the way. I'm just seeing the substitute at the moment. So Palacios is off for Flozek, but they've got to take more risks like that. That's the way forward, basically, for the home side. As I say, this is really, they must be getting very frustrated, because they'll be thinking, how we lost this tie, really, if they lose it. Because as you say, I mean, Roma have not offered that much going forward over the 2 legs. And it's just, I think if Leverkusen lose this match, all the Leverkusen players should go off with a T-shirt saying, "Congratulations, you beat Mourinho." To be honest, because it seems like that's the way it's gone the whole time, really.
Perfectly well summed up. It was a great opportunity for Asmoon there. Nemanja Matic is giving him a pat on the back of their head, saying, "Thanks for missing that, pal," because. They're kind of inferring that it might have been a free kick to Roma anyway, from the initial effort. But yeah, the Jonathan Tah effort and now the Asmoon one, that's 2 close efforts that Leverkusen have had. So they can take heart from the fact that if they're just going to throw the ball in the box or whatever, something might just fall their way. But they've got to be on hand to finish it, haven't they? Really, that's obviously the big thing. Just as
that was the big one. I wouldn't say it was an absolute sitter, because there were a couple of Roma defenders around, but that's the best chance by far in the match, and it's got to end up in the back of the net. If you want to beat a team that are defending so deep like this, you've got to be scoring that. And once again, a Roma player down on the turf again. It's just I would be sad for Leverkusen if they lose this game, because they've just been Mourinho'd, in my opinion. Really, that's my analysis of this. They've come up against a manager who was just happy. He knows how to drill a team, and they have been very well drilled. That's probably the only mistake they made in the whole match, really, as you say. I mean, that's a pretty decent effort against a side that score goals for fun, really, like Leverkusen. But it's some people would say, is it really good for football to see a team like defending this deep for, in a semi-final, a European semi? But at the end of the day, there is more than one way to play football. That's one of the things that makes football interesting, the fact that there are more than one way to play the game. And, this is like a throwback to like the early 2000s when football was like really defensive, I think, wasn't it? This game has been that kind of throwback when you've just got only one team that wants to play football. And Ballum says I'm fed up. Yeah, I'll be honest, I'm a bit disappointed in some ways because I really wanted Leverkusen to win. And for me, Roma, it's just been, I've seen my team beaten by teams that play like this before. And there's nothing more frustrating, to be honest with you, because Roma will come off that pitch and they just think, what have we done really to win that game? Like, I think have they had a single shot in the whole match, really, Rory?
Statistically, you told me that they'd had one, so there we go.
Yeah, I think in the first minute, they had that shot in the first minute, and since then they've not had a single shot, literally.
Yeah, just as their Leverkusen attack again, Frimpong this time, it kind of falls for him. Wirtz gets it to him. It's probably going in as well, and it's a fantastic block by one of the Roma defenders, and it falls perfectly for Rui Patricio to get his grateful mitts on. So it stays at 1-0 overall, 0-0 on the night. We are now into the 84th minute of play. So again, probably 10 minutes here for Leverkusen to just get one, just get it to extra time. And see what happens just as Adley runs out of space there, and it's going to be a Roma throw-in. But yeah, I think it's obvious that we would be supporting Leverkusen. We're the Bundesliga show for a reason, and it's just not come off for them tonight, just for one reason or another. There hasn't been loads of clear-cut chances, being honest, and Azmoun has done his best, but ultimately maybe sums up his career to date in a Leverkusen top. Obviously, we hope that the player can turn that around, just as a long ball goes in here and it's come back out to the right-hand side. Frimpong now on the ball, cuts inside and levers it high and wide. That was not ideal from the young man. And it looks like there's going to be another Leverkusen sub. There's another Roma player on the floor, which again just adds to our frustrations, Leverkusen's frustrations. Jonathan Tah off, and Miri, talented player. Can he get himself a historic goal for Leverkusen, Mark? Very capable footballer, but again, another player that we've not ever quite seen the right kind of quality from in the Leverkusen top at times.
Yeah, I think he started off his Leverkusen career really well, but then in the last couple of years it's gone down. But this season, when called upon, he's done pretty well, and he is the kind of character that's got the bottle to go and do something crazy in this kind of moment. I'm a little bit surprised to see that it's taken so long to bring him on, but I mean, obviously, I am about a minute behind you, I think, now, Rory. So I think, obviously, we'll mostly stay with you to talk through the last 5 minutes. But I think, he is the kind of player that can do that crazy, shot from 30 yards, top corner. Like, he is that kind of, he's a bit of a maverick, really. But, he can be good as often as he's bad, really. That's the problem with him.
Yeah, completely agree. So, yeah, again, Leverkusen possession deep inside the Roma half. The cross comes in. Smalling's head is on it. It's going to be a free kick. It's a stupid foul to give away. Is that Hincapié this time on Tammy Abraham? But Roman players don't need any excuse to just fall to the floor. Like, why give them one? And I know, emotion comes into the match. You've got minutes to win the ball back. You've got seconds to win the ball back to start more attacks. But you've just got to try and make smarter decisions. Unfortunately, that was a stupid one by Hincapié. So again, we're going to have another delay. I'm really interested to see how long the referee adds, because for me, there's got to be at least 7 minutes added on time from what I've seen of the second half. with subs, injuries, and flares. Yeah, there's got to be plenty added on still. Yeah, will it come back to bite Roma in the bottom just as they go long, actually? And Tammy Abraham actually has a touch of the ball inside the Leverkusen half, but he loses it within seconds. Sums up how frustrating an afternoon or evening it would have been for him personally, but obviously at the moment his side are going through to a Europa League final. So yeah, just a bit of a break in the game. Just as well, I say a break. Leverkusen have actually got on with it quite quickly. Got the ball to Frimpong down the right. So again, poor from Diaby, I think. Trying to play the one-time pass and gives it straight to Roma. And they can break. Looks like they're off. Their attackers offside. Oh, no. I think they've won themselves what could be quite a valuable corner. Oh, no, they haven't. And Leverkusen are straight back on the attack. So they're going through now. 89 minutes mark. Obviously, we'll find out how much added time is incoming. Again, they work the ball so quickly to Frimpong. It's obviously a positive. Great header out. Oh my God, not again. Yeah, cross came in. Yellow card for Diaby this time for not even off the ball, for a challenge on a Roma player who was flopped straight to the floor, and it's another break in play. Just the epitome of frustration. This from a Bundesliga point of view, Mark.
Yeah, I mean, it has been a frustrating evening, to be honest, in truth. But I'm not sure I can ever remember a team that have defended as much as this, actually, in my life. I can't remember watching a game like this before, that a team like one shot and that happened in the first minute. So they've pretty much gone 87, 88 minutes without a single shot of any kind on goal.
Okay, we've got 8 minutes of added on time, so I wasn't far off. 8 minutes of added on time. So... Right, do stay with us. Get tuned in for this last 8 minutes. Leverkusen are just going to go hell for leather. And there could be a good few big chances here. Although, having said that, Roma have just gone long to Abraham, and he's naturally gone straight to the corner. He hasn't quite won a corner, and Leverkusen can now get themselves back on the ball, thankfully, and. They'll be able to start possession again, but it's right in their end of the pitch. Just shout out, thanks for tuning in this evening, Gary. Gary Jones, one of our regulars. Absolutely fantastic. Glad you're enjoying the show. And I've got BT Sport on mute. That's what we like to hear. Just as Leverkusen go down the left-hand side. But again, it's broken down. It's defended really well by AS Roma, and to be honest, Mark, Roma have had the ball in the Leverkusen half more in these last 3 minutes than they have the entire match. So Leverkusen they're just not quite playing this one very well, which, it's impossible to sometimes play these situations well, isn't it? Because there's so much pressure and you're so rushed in your decision making, but we're a minute and a half into it already. And it's a minute and a half that's not really done anything for them. I
think you need some luck at this stage of the match. You need a bit of luck because, as you say, you can see everything's rushed and they're just trying to pump long balls up now. And I don't think that's the best way. But then again, when you've only got 5-6 minutes to save yourself, then what else can you do, really? So it's a hard situation for Leverkusen to be in, but. Yeah, it has been a frustrating night, but they've still got opportunity. They've got to realise, if they can get one goal, and they'd probably be favourites going into extra time. So they've just got to somehow get a goal.
Yep, yeah, absolutely. So just 2 minutes gone, so there's still 6 minutes left. Roma have a lot of defending still to do. Here comes Diaby pressing forward through the middle. Comes down the right. Frimpong he gets crowded out, unfortunately. And Is it a free kick again? Rolling around. Just painful. So painful to watch, honestly. I don't know who it is this time for Roma, but they've just, taken the opportunity to roll around. Although, having said that, now on second viewing, it probably wasn't the best of challenges by Diaby. So, yeah, really disappointing. Whilst there's just a break in play, just to say, in reference to what you're asking, Gary, I think me and Mark are definitely planning on doing the promotion relegation playoffs where we can. That will be some really tense matches as well, won't they? First and second legs for that. We are also planning to do a watch along for the last game or games of the season, because they all kick off at the same time, kind of a Gillette Soccer Saturday style format that we've done before. So tell your friends, that should be really good fun. And plenty more goals than tonight for sure. Coming down the right hand side again here, Leverkusen, Frimpong pulls it back, can be a cross in. You got to pull the trigger. And he doesn't. Comes out to the right again. Frimpong crosses in. Too long. Oh dear, this is so painful to watch. I really have to say. Right, we're halfway through extra time, everyone. We have 4 minutes for Leverkusen to rescue themselves with 1 goal to take it to extra time this evening. Thank you to everyone that's tuned in so far. This is going deep, but at the moment it is not going the way of our Bundesliga friends. Again, Roma managed to get the ball clear, but only as far as the halfway line. Florian Wirtz drifts a crossfield ball all the way out to Adley, who's operating down the left. In swinging ball. I don't think you can be doing much with Jeremy Frimpong in the air. So again, it finds its way to Wirtz down the right-hand side. Good footwork inside the area. Oh, deflected shot. It comes out again, edge of the area. Nothing is really falling Leverkusen's way, I must say. We've still got 3 minutes of play. Are we going to get a free kick there, referee? No, we're not. You're just going to obviously let that one go because it was a Bundesliga player. Gini Wijnaldum telling his colleagues to push up the pitch, but they are not. They are staying camped inside their area. Mark, this is still not feeling like it's happening. Cross comes in. Oh, he left it. Who left it there? It's still in the danger zone. Tammy Abraham just wafts his foot at it, and Jose Mourinho is screaming at his boys to just keep on kicking the lever off it because it's working. So just about 2 minutes here, or else, Leverkusen, they've kicked the ball out of play. Oh, sigh, Mark. Unless Leverkusen can get the ball back, they've maybe got the opportunity to swing in one more cross or one more chance here.
Yeah, obviously it is getting closer and closer, and it's just the ball just hasn't fallen for them either. That's the other frustrating thing. Sometimes in this kind of game, you'll get like a lucky handball penalty or something like that, but it's just not happening. I guess on the Roma side, you can say it's been a very, very good defensive performance, but it's just made the game. It has been hard to watch this game of football. I'm not going to lie. We're used to watching Bundesliga, which is like so entertaining and fast, and every team attacks, even if they're like 2-1 up away at Bayern Munich. They're still trying to get a third goal. And that's the Bundesliga, isn't it? But clearly not all football's like that, unfortunately. And Roma have shown us that tonight, Rory.
Yeah, exactly. You have to say that. So we've got potentially 1 minute of extra. He's given a free kick as well, hasn't he? Yeah. Unfortunately, Leverkusen's heads have gone. There is in theory, a minute of added on time. There'll probably be an extra minute or two. So we'll probably go into 99 minutes maybe or something like that. But I really can't see it now. I'd love to be surprised. But I tell you what, thank you so much to everyone that stuck with us this evening and watched the match from a watch-along point of view. we've done our best to keep you entertained through this match. As you know, as we've said, it's not been a good one. It's the first 0-0 that we're ever going to cover. And yeah, statistically, you might see after the game it'll look silly in Leverkusen's favour, but they're going to fall short here. Just as I think, that's going to be a free kick to Leverkusen. So just inside the Roma half. So one last chance, I think, by the looks of it. Tammy Abraham just taking a swipe at Amiri. So chance to give it a big old boot into the box, hope for a nice knockdown and maybe a smash and grab. So I will just talk you through this. So we're into added time, or extra time. So yeah, views of all the Leverkusen fans, they can't watch. They're so frustrated. Really thought it might have been a different. Oh, they're taking it short. Sorry. Amiri, he's going to hit it. Deflections. Comes out to Frimpong. Blocked. Oh, the referee's going to blow his whistle, isn't he? Oh, get it in the box. It's over. It is over. Wow. Well, what a disappointing end to this evening. For Bayer Leverkusen, their Europa League journey ends in the semi-final. And as you say, Mark, they've been Jose Mourinho'd.
Yeah, they really have. I mean, I've tried to stay positive. Like for the first half, I did, but I mean, I just started to get more and more frustrated as the game went on. To me, like the writing was on the wall right from the start of the second half. To be honest, I could just see the way the game was going, and the chances had dried up, and Roma had just set the stall. And from a Leverkusen perspective, I mean, could you be happy with the performance? I don't know. Like, I don't think there was enough urgency at times from Leverkusen. That was my opinion. I just think that it was a little bit too slow. But at the same time, what can you do playing against that? I mean, this is a side that went 97 minutes of this match and they didn't have a single shot of any kind. Like that, that's the level of defense that we're talking about. I mean, I'm not sure I've ever seen that at any level of football, actually. And I mean, as you mentioned, I feel a bit sorry almost for Tammy Abraham because, I mean, that must have been a painful evening for him. But I mean, you got to say congratulations to Roma. They got there, they found a way to win the game. The other game's gone to extra time, by the way, between Sevilla and Juve. Yeah, I mean, I think from a neutral perspective, a lot of people will be hoping that Sevilla get through, to be honest, because I think an all-Italian final might be a little bit too much for the old,
Yeah, we definitely won't be doing a watch-along of an all-Italian final.
We'll probably end up 3-2 to Roma, won't it?
Yeah,
but
maybe.
Yeah, it's, but I mean, that was not a classic, but yeah, what can you say? I mean, Leverkusen, they'll have sleepless nights over this tie, I think, because I think they'll feel as though they're probably a better football team than Roma, really. They've got better players, I think, really, but they've just been Mourinho'd, I mean,
Yep.
I mean, if you're a Roma fan, I'm not sure how you'd feel about that, to be honest, tonight, because I think if that was my team, I'd be happy they got in the final, of course, but I mean, the way they did it was... I'm going to wash my eyes with soap right now, to be honest, because it was hard to watch from a Roma perspective, I'm going to be honest.
Yeah. So, yeah, overall, great shame that we haven't got another watch-along to present in terms of a major European final and repeat the fun we had with Frankfurt, on penalties last year, which was a year to the day, actually, that we did that. But, yeah, the Bundesliga representation in Europe is over at the semi-final stage. So tough luck to Leverkusen. They gave it their all, good run in Europe, and hopefully now they can focus on getting back in the Europa League for next season and giving it a go. I mean, tough one to take. Summarized perfectly by yourself, Mark. So we'll close play there. Thank you again so much to everyone for watching this evening. Really appreciate it. We'll be doing more watch-alongs before the season is out. Yeah, playoff relegation match for sure. We'll try and do the DFB Pokal final. We'll do, like I said, the end of season games all in one go. That'll be really exciting, and of course the review shows and the kind of end of season awards show as well, which are always great fun. So there's still plenty of stuff to keep you all occupied. So yeah, I'll fire back over to you, Mark, and you can close up tonight.
Yeah, definitely. So if you enjoyed what you saw tonight, then check out Over the Bar FB and Over the Bar Extra. Also, visit our main site, which is otbfootball.net. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Obviously, we've got a lot more watch-alongs and the Bundesliga. I'm looking forward to getting back to Bundesliga football tomorrow. Yeah, we'll see a lot more goals there. Yeah. So, yeah, it's going to be a great weekend of Bundesliga action, especially if last weekend is anything to go by. I mean, there were just goals left, right, and center. There's so much to play for at both ends and the middle as well. Yep. So, yeah, check out our next show, which will be the review on Monday with Peter. So, yeah, see you then, guys. Bye-bye.
Thanks all. Cheers.